Thanks to the managers. Just some statistics on Cole Palmer, the first part of the season, and then since January. It's a 16-game goal drought in all competitions. Enzo Maresca says it's not a mental thing. It is a mental thing. It's not tactics. Last season, by the way, he'd scored 27 goals and clocked up 15 assists in 48 matches. And his last goal was against Bournemouth on the 14th of January. So what is hindering Cole Palmer? He did put up something on his Instagram earlier this week under Pochettino at the time, saying enjoyment. It seemed to be a dig at Maresca. Is Maresca right? Is it just a mental thing for Cole Palmer? Or is it something else you feel? Lee Sharp.
I think it's probably a few things. I think the team's not flying and buzzing like they were the first half of the season, which then gives him more opportunities and more space to operate in. If he's putting that up about Pochettino, then maybe Maresca is a little bit stifling in the forward areas and the forward play and allowing him that sort of freedom that he likes. But no, I think it's just it will be a little bit mental because as soon as you go a few games without scoring and you're used to scoring, you'll be thinking I need to score. So all of a sudden your attitude changes, doesn't quite come as natural and as fluid. So there'll be a few things, but I think it's only a matter of time before he starts scoring again.
So he's no different. He's the same Palmer, isn't he? You know, the talented young player who plays international football, who's got great vision and awareness and, you know, football intelligence. But his results, personal results, his personal numbers aren't what they were. So is he worth less money now on the transfer market? I'd say absolutely no. I think we have to accept that in a world that is now so much driven by numbers and statistics, that we have to sometimes go back to the fact and talk about human beings. And human beings, you know, naturally have peaks and troughs. You know, sometimes you're full of energy, sometimes you're lacking it a little bit. And we all change. But, you know, he's not the only one. Nicholas Jackson, you know, he can't score a goal for love nor money at the moment, can he? Either. So because he's not scoring, it doesn't help Palmer. Because Palmer's not playing well, it doesn't help Jackson. And it's an accumulation.
Is he a victim of his own success? If I was to say to you, Sharpie, here's your season in review, you got 14 goals and 9 assists just in the Premier League. Would you be happy with that?
Well, I'd have taken that as a left winger, yeah, for sure.
Because that's where he is right now. He's not a striker.
And I think if he hadn't had the season he had last year, then he probably would have got away with that this year. But
well, that's why I'm asking. Is he a victim of his own success?
I think he can be, yeah. I think when everyone sees you come on and score nearly every game and score magical goals and do magical things at every game for a season, I think everyone does expect it. But then, you know, people are aware of it then, so people start doubling up on him. I think defences maybe sit a little bit deeper against him to not allow so much space. So the game becomes tougher, and that's something he's got to learn in his game of how to navigate these sort of tricky defences and tricky positions he finds himself in. And it'll make him a better player. He'll become wiser, he'll become better. It's just one of those spells he's going to have to learn from.
Yeah, totally agree with Lee. You know, I think, as I mentioned earlier, you know, an excellent player. I hate this world-class phrase. So, you know, what category do you put him in at the moment? It's, you know, a top player. He doesn't become a bad player overnight.
I always think he's one of those players that you'd pay your entrance fee.
Yeah.
To go and watch.
Yeah, you want to go and watch him play.
Yeah, every team generally has one or two, don't they? Or sometimes 3 or 4, depending on the team. But I think he's one. And you'd still go and watch him. He's not scored, but you'd still go, Cole Palmer's playing today.
Yeah, and even if he isn't scoring or providing an assist, you see some of the things he does on the park. You know the way he opens up his body, the way he takes and receives a ball, the way he shimmies and leaves an opponent for dead. You know, those are all things that I personally like watching with other players and with players. Of course, the ultimate is assists and goals, and that doesn't always happen. It's simple.
Really brief before we move on. Do the best players always find a way, even though they know they're the star man? For example, Hoddle or Gaza with you, Eric Cantona.
There's not a player in world football who hasn't had a downturn for a period in their career. You know, it's peaks and troughs, and I suppose the best ones spend more time up and near the peak and less time in a trough.
Yeah, and I also think he's still young. You know, where was Eric Cantona when he was 20? I don't think he was ripping up the Premier League, or not the Premier League, but
he was still a bit in France, I think.
That's what I mean. So this is a learning curve, and this is what defines him. So if he lets this shrink him, and he struggles from this and just goes downhill, then we know he's not the player that we expect him to be. But if he comes through this and he learns from it and he becomes a better player and scores more goals and creates more, then you sort of say, yeah, now he's stepped up to that next level.